Yo, what up? It's the Sunday School Podcast. Uh, I'm AJ,
I'm Ryan.
and we just have a couple of things that we might want to talk to you all about today. We're actually going to talk to each other, but um, we would appreciate it if you, stand by for the conversation. You know, in the comfort of your vehicle or your home, wherever it is that you consume YouTube videos and the like. Um, anyhow, uh, so also want to encourage you to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Definitely helps out. Like everybody says, like it helps out. I'm not sure exactly all of the things that it does, but if you like, share, and subscribe,
Algorithms.
it will help.
Also, comments. Comments. Love comments. Feedback's always dope. Question that was posed was, did you find it more difficult to be a dad or to be a husband? And not just like a dad or husband, but you kind of want to ask why. Just in-depth perspective. No real right or wrong answer, just kind of the feeling that you get, or that your take on it.
So I think that it depends on it depends on a couple of things, but I would say that it's harder to be a husband just because sort of being a dad sort of comes natural for me, and some, you know what I mean, like and I think maybe I have maybe that's the answer. Maybe that's the answer that I have to give, because I already failed at one thing, so I can't not like I can't. So yeah, it's easy being a husband. It's definitely not. So I think that it is real, actual work to hold together a relationship with somebody else, and like the things that you do for your kids a lot of times is like automatic.
Right.
You know what
instinctual.
I mean? Yeah. And so like for me, I think that being a father, although it takes you a while to sort of hit your groove. You know what I'm saying? Like to really sort of become that. And I think let me just make this caveat. I don't think that there's any such thing as a perfect parent.
Right.
I was just like talking to my mom like the other day, and she was like, like you really don't know how you did until your kids are in their 30s, because that's really when like the lessons and stuff that you taught them, like they're probably most likely going to be using that on their own kids, or they're going to be able to see your perspective on, what I'm saying, like on things that they were doing at, like at the time. I know for me in my 30s, like that's like I really did look back on a lot of the things that my parents, that I thought wasn't necessary, or said that I would do things different, but now I kind of like appreciate what they were given. So I think that like there's no, so I just want to say that there's no perfect parent. Like a lot of times, like I think that maybe I'm saying that being a parent, a dad is easier because all that is required is for you to do your best.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yo,
it's not high. Well, there's high expectations, but whatever you do, essentially, as long as it's the right way, like guiding them in the right way, you can kind of hang your hat on that and feel proud about that. I guess so. My take would be a little different, only because, and not to cut you off, but I honestly, after asking you the question, I felt as though they went kind of hand in hand. So I didn't have a real answer. Okay. Because to me, being a dad, right? Well, I was a dad first, of course, but being a dad gave me qualities that I needed to be a husband, in a sense that I was a dad a lot younger. So I was a dad, of course, before I got married. So it made me develop different patients. And then you have to understand that you no longer come first. And that to me was like not the hardest thing, but it was difficult in the sense that not so much like, oh, I got to buy for them before me. That wasn't the problem, but it was more so like, okay, wait a minute. I have to think of this action, how it affects them before how it affects me. And I would say I carried that into marriage. You know what I mean? So they kind of went hand in hand, and not saying that it all takes time. And I guess if I had to answer my own question, I would say I look at it as it's harder to be a dad only because of my take on what a dad's supposed to be, right? So I hold myself to extremely high standards as far as being a dad goes because I know that my actions directly impact how they develop.
Mm-hmm.
So where you're responsible for your wife and how that goes and everything like that, ultimately she's an adult too. So you're not influencing her like you would be your kids. Like your kids are watching your moves, like even when you don't think they are. You know what I mean? It's like you said, like when you get older, like as I've gotten older, I told my mom different things that I took from her that I just watched. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes there's an added pressure to being a dad to where you feel as though if certain things don't happen, it's a fail. Now, granted, you can feel that way in a marriage too, but there's a certain pain that comes with, to me, failing your kids and feeling as though you failed in your marriage. And some stuff to me is just harder to get back from. Like a kid will hold on to something and grow up and it can fester into a resentment.
Mm-hmm.
And then it can alter how they raise their kids. So, you know what I mean? It can like change, like, you know what I mean? Like some people can have different issues. It may not be resentment, but, or it could just be just something they held on to or something that impacted them. And then they get out and then that's how they are with their kids. And then it just continues and continues. And then the other thing is with kids, when they're watching a marriage, a lot of times that sets the tone for them. That's supposed to be, you're supposed to be modeling what they should be doing as they get older. So to me, I guess I would say it's harder being a dad because it's like if I do this, how do I justify it to them? You know what I mean? How do I say, hey, don't do what dad did, but I'm doing it. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I would say it's a little more difficult for me.
Yeah. I understand where where you coming from with that. I think like I said, I think I don't you can't disagree. This is subjective. Like I said, it would be different for everybody, or kind of like the way that like the way that you see it.
Right.
It's like there are a lot of good things that that I would want that I want to place into my kids. That's pretty much what I try to do. I think maybe now I'm saying it just having gone through, you know what I'm saying, like going through what I'm going through.
Right.
I'm not, so definitely parenthood is not easy. It's definitely not no matter what happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
In life, like you're always gonna have to raise your kids.
Right.
If you're
doing the right thing.
All right.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, so it doesn't, so that means if your relationship lasts, if your relationship fails, like you still have to do things in the best interest of them. You see what I'm saying? And so, like, I don't want, and I think for what you was talking about, like something can happen, they can carry it with them. Mm-hmm. I think that kids they're always going to carry something. Right. But there's not really a lot of people who will have kids that they don't, like they don't have something that they wind up need to end up having a conversation about with their parents as an adult.
Yeah.
Like, so for example, like my dad, he was the oldest of his siblings, and there was like a Christmas or two because they didn't have the bread that, he didn't get anything for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And and his younger siblings did because they were younger.
Right.
But he was the oldest, so it was like, he can handle that. But you know what I'm saying? Like, but then he kind of grew up in, like kind of in a space that like, but I was still a kid myself though. You know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, like you want for me to understand, I'm responsible, but now, but now I'm an adult and now I'm having feelings about that. So we got to have a conversation.
Right.
And so, you know what I mean? Like, and so I think that that's why I was saying, like, like there's no such thing as a perfect parent. So I feel like maybe I'm not saying that being a dad is not harder, but I think that I feel like it's less pressure because you're really just doing, you know what I mean? Like you're doing things, even if it's with very little understanding,
right.
You're being led by your heart. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I can say, well, if this thing didn't work, I know that I did it in the best interest of my children. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
If any, you know what I mean? Like all of the decisions that I'm making is with, like it's in their best interest for this to happen. I'm going to try to get them in this school. I'm going to try, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to tell them, you know what I mean? Like, listen, we're going to have open conversations because I want you to be able to, have those with me as you get older. So there's less secrets. It's going to be secrets, but you know what I'm saying? But
right.
So there's less secrets. And so it's, for me, I think it's easier because I can, I can make, if something not so favorable happens,
mm-hmm.
I can be like, you know what, this didn't work. Right. And you know what I'm saying? Like, so for, like, I'm sorry. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's, you know what I mean? Whereas in your relationship, you know what I mean? Like, because it's like the turnaround ain't always like that. And you know what I'm saying? Like,
it's a longer process.
Yeah. So we, and so, and then like sometimes you're not really dealing with unconditional love. Right. You're dealing with conditional love. And so, you know what I mean? And like I said, there's no perfect relationship, just the one that's perfect for you. But then like, what if that one is not it?
Right.
And so you know what I'm saying? Like, and so you find yourself in with somebody, like they're already set, you know what I'm saying? Their mindset,
in
like
their
they're,
ways.
yeah. And so you're like, so maybe they have an issue with forgiveness. Right. Oh no. So now, you know what I mean? Like I got to do, it's like, like I have to do work to figure them out. Whereas I'm raising my kids. I see them every day. I know, you know what I'm saying? Like I know their MO. Like I know the things that, like the things that they think. I know the stuff that they like. Is very, you know what I mean? Like this, like in a relationship, and what I just think that I'm not saying like it's bad work or that it's bad that it's work, but it's work in that you're continually learning about them because they're coming with 20, 30, sometimes 40 years of experience of a life that you knew nothing about before y'all were together.
So I guess to your point, right, I would ask, and this is kind of what went into my decision, like, mm-hmm. Of saying, like, to me, I think it may be difficult, is like, the question I asked really isn't as simple as we may think, because how you're explaining it would then be different for maybe say somebody else's relationship, because there's some people who go into a marriage that weren't really ready for a marriage, right? Me, you know what I mean? But there's ways that you work on that, and I say ready in a sense that not like, oh, I didn't ask you to marry me. No, I asked you, but like ready mentally. Right? We've had discussion before where you just say sometimes it takes maturity. Like if a person in their 20s gets married as opposed to a person in their 40s get married, the perception of the marriage or what it should be is different. But what I would say is sometimes people carry issues from their childhood and how they were brought up that then can come into the marriage. You know what I mean? Different mindsets, different ways of thinking, or maybe I was raised this way, but you were raised that way. So when we get together, that's going to be, you know what I mean? So I think, again, I asked the question looking for like a real simple answer, but there really is no simple answer to this.
Yeah.
And there's really no right answer to it. And it's strictly because you don't know all the variables that went into, you know, what shaped the people that got into that relationship. So I guess, again, not to flip flop, I would say you can go either way. Like either way we're looking at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think that long lasting, for me, the long lasting impression that I would try to leave would be in my kids would be to be somebody that can be in a relationship, because there's a lot of people who were brought up and because of how they were taught and because of things that they've seen in their past or how they grew up or whatever, actually can't be in relationships but won't admit it. Like that. Yeah. That's really what it is. Like you know, you would think like, oh yeah, I want this, I'm ready for this, not understanding like what an actual relationship is. So then going to somebody who has, you know, kind of a blueprint of what it should look like from time to time, and then you don't get that, and then I guess that's where you could say marriage is tough, because it's that work that you're talking about. It's that figuring you out. And like you said, if a person comes in and you marry somebody and that love is conditional, it's based upon how I'm feeling at that moment, based on if we argued about this, or if you did this to me, now I do that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like a kid who, unless you really screw up, they're going to be like, no, that's my dad. Like, still love my dad. Like, okay, you messed up, whatever. You know what I mean? So I guess, like I said, I can see it from both sides, but the dialogue about it is more so what I was looking for, just for the perspective.
Yeah. And I think, you know, not really being ready to be, you know, to be in one, you know what I mean? I think, because we're all going to have things that we, you know, that we go through or whatever. But I think that probably one of my biggest regrets is not really being ready to be, you know, like to be in that relationship. But getting in, you know, it's like getting into it, and like there was never, or I don't want to say never, but there were very seldom times where there wasn't struggle.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And of course you're going to go through things, and you know what I mean? Like in life switches. So you're not, you know what I mean? Like, but I think, there were a lot of different things that kind of, that, you know what I mean? Like you become exhausted. And you know what I mean? Like in a lot of the years that, you know, that I was married, I was, you know what I mean? Like looking back on it, it was like it wasn't real peace, because we were always in survival mode.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, you know, I don't like to look at things, how people say, you know, oh, it can just be me and you against the world, because it becomes exhausting to fight anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Even if we're not fighting one another. And so, you know, like there never was a real peace. And that's, you know what I mean? Like, and there's, I mean, even a lot of reasons for that, but it was like, you know, we're constantly just going through things. So it's like, yo, it's kind of like when you just work, you'll never take no vacation. Eventually you're just going to get burnt out.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? Like, and so,
there's an exhaustion that comes in with it.
Yeah. And I, you know what I'm saying? And looking back on it, you know, again, I can say when I got married at 23, I definitely wasn't ready. And, but at the time, because when you're young and people say count up the costs, and you know what I'm saying, you think about, you know, really consider what you're doing, you think that you're doing it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, but sometimes
young you is.
Yeah, it's like, you know, because you're thinking to yourself, what haven't I considered? I know that, you know, I love this person, I want to be with this person.
Right.
And you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, and the thing that I've learned is that love is not enough. No. You know what I'm saying? And I will continue to say this. Love is not enough. And if I have been able to see, and not, you know what I'm saying? It's because it wasn't even, this is not even to throw her under the bus, because I feel bad in a way just having, you know what I mean? Like having that much time in with somebody and then having to let that go.
Right.
And you know what I'm saying? Like, and I mean, in any situation, of course, like, you have to look at it as a lesson. It's something that you learn from. And I guess it's kind of like one of those trust the process type of things, but it's like, I really, you know what I mean? I wasn't ready from, I mean, in a lot of ways. Now I know that, again, I was saying how it's easier, it's easier to be a father. I think that when I started having kids, mm-hmm. I became less selfish. And you know what I'm saying? Like, and began like a process of being able to see things from other people's point of view.
Right.
And you know what I'm saying? Like, because being a dad forced me to look outside of myself and to, you know what I'm saying? Like into somebody else's life and what they might be dealing with. And so now this is a long process. Even in, like I said, in a relationship, like I wasn't ready. Because for a lot of years, I wasn't even able to do that. And then, you know what I'm saying? Like by the time I was, it's like, okay, so now but you don't have exactly like the tools to be able to, you know what I'm saying? Like to help or to be, or to be able to do it. Like, my ex-wife was she was dealing with stuff that I couldn't even fathom.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I couldn't even, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like, I don't know how to be a help to you because I don't know what you need. Right. I know that I'm doing all that I can do, but here's the thing. If I'm doing that, but that's not what you need, mm-hmm. That's like constantly giving somebody something to eat when they're just thirsty.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
You're not really solving the issue. You know what I mean? But I think that's where communication is key. Mm. Right?
I was terrible at that. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I only, like I said, I always say I only talk about things I know. And I know that my communication or lack thereof led to, early, it would lead to early issues because you're not telling the person exactly what you need. And like you say, you're trying to figure it out. So if your problem is this, but my solution is for something totally different, then I feel like I'm trying to work towards helping you. And what I'm doing is not helping you. But if you're not telling me or we're not talking to find out what the real root is or how I can actually help you, like you said, you get burnt out because you feel as though like, listen, man, I'm doing all of this and it seems like I'm getting nowhere. Or it's like pointless movement. To me, it's like a treadmill. Mm. You know what I mean? Mm. You're getting like the exercise portion of it. So things that you feel as though you're supposed to be doing, but you're still kind of just moving in place. You're not going anywhere with it. It's not getting anywhere. You know what I mean? And you're tiring yourself out.
Yeah.
So, I guess, there's times where, I've noticed that even with kids, as they get older, your communication has to change because their problems change. And so I always say that, like I said, when we first started the conversation, that me being a dad kind of helped me with being a parent. With being a husband, and me being a husband helped me with being a dad. I think the two have gone in hand in hand because there's times where maybe 3 years ago, I'm not really going to ask what's going on when you get an attitude. I'm going to get an attitude and then, you know what I mean? Because we didn't really, you didn't communicate about anything. And then that's the same thing that happens with kids in the house. You know what I mean? If you have a teenager, you know how that goes. They could just be mad. They don't really know why. You don't know why. And then instead of you saying, what's the problem? You come in kind of hot. You know what I mean? Then that escalates. And that's the same thing I noticed with like anything in my marriage, especially, you know what I mean? Like if I come in hot and you come in hot and we're not really we're not listening to each other. So that's not actually communication. That's just whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then we, it's back on our treadmill. We tiring ourselves out, arguing or yelling about something and we're not getting anywhere with it. So like, I think I can't answer my own question. It's basically what I'm getting to. And it's because, I really look at it like it's two different types of work. You know what I mean? It's two different types of work. Both are rewarding though. In a sense that like, well, of course both are rewarding, but it's like you're rewarded in different ways too. Yeah. I think like, if your kids can come to you, and just talk to you and feel as though, there's they could confide in you or just, they just know that you're there.
Yeah.
That's your win. You know what I mean? And then once, and I looked at it like once my wife was able to do that, because both of us have had, times where, you don't share anything. You know what I mean? Because everybody goes through their own things mentally where you're battling whatever you're going through, and you don't always share. I think once you get to the level where you feel you can share with each other, that opens everything up. Because if I know what's going on with you and you know what's going on with me, now we can actually help each other. Now we can actually be, that support system. But it's like you were saying, you don't have time to think about that if you're in just trying to make it. Yeah. You know what I mean? If I'm just trying to get by, I don't have that time to sit and say, okay, hey, what's up? What's going on with you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I said, I think that's where a marriage is hard. But I think if you, like with kids, if you get past like those little rough stages and stuff like that, there's those pockets where it seems like everything is good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, yeah, and so where I'm coming from, and maybe it took a little while longer for me to get to this point because I didn't start therapy until, until like later into my 30s.
Right.
It was like, just in the way of communication, like I figured out that, like I actually need to be able to communicate with, you know what I'm saying? Like, I need to be able to communicate. I need to be able to say, what's on my mind and right. be, and just, you know what I mean? And know, like, it's not going to be no judgments. It's not going to be, you know what I'm saying? Like, this how I feel. I know that I'm, you know what I mean? Like, I'm an emotional person. I'm not going to show that to everybody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so, but I got to be able to, and this is where I'm saying, like love is not enough. I got to be able to trust you to, you know what I'm saying? Like to know that we're going to talk about this. It's not that you're not going to throw it in my face later on, but also like you're not going to like treat me away or, or try to belittle me with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I know that just as much as I can make you love me, I can really piss you off.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? Like, and my mind just works different. And so maybe some things will not make sense to you that I'm doing, but it makes perfect sense to me. But if you understand me, then you know what I'm saying? Like, then and it's just like you want for somebody to understand that you know what I mean? Like that your intentions are genuine and that, you know what I'm saying? Like, and this is really what you doing or whatever. And so I feel, like, again, it took for me to be able to start learning to listen to people, you know what I'm saying? And then, because like I told you, I wasn't even equipped to be able to, to help her in the way that she needed to be helped at the time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and of course it's like, so a lot of times I'll be thinking, well, if I could take my 40-year-old brain and give it to my 20-year-old brain, you know what I'm saying? Like I'll be, you know what I'm saying? Like a bad dude. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying it would have worked out. I'm not saying that. You know what I mean? Like I don't think that it would have.
Right.
But I think that
approaches would have been different.
Honestly, I probably wouldn't have done it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like in that, you know what I'm saying? Her path might have been a brighter one. And you know what I'm saying? Like you know what I mean? Like, and so, but it's like just learning to be able to listen, not to respond to what the person is saying. You know what I mean? Like, and then, trying to take that all in, understanding that I may not be able to solve the problem, but to be able to give the person what they need at the time, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I mean, in the way that coincides with being a dad. Like one time, my emotional kid, Alex, you know, Alex, he would just like cry about everything growing up. You know what I'm saying? Like you just have one of those crybabies. Like, you know, he was like one of those. He's very sensitive, and so there was like one time he was crying over a video game like he lost or whatever, and so he was, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so he's crying. I'm in the next room and I just come in there and I'm like, yo, shut up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yo, you're being a little baby right now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, man up.
It's just a game.
Yo, you know what I'm saying? For real. And I said, yo, it's just I literally said that. I said, it's just a game.
Right.
And he said, it's not just a game to me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, my feelings are hurt. Like, and so.
That's what I care about.
Yo, and so when he said that, it was like, you know what I mean? Because he was like, it's not just a game to me. I'm like, you don't even care, but I care about it. And I'm like, yo, I had to step back for a minute. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, first of all, watch your tone. But yo, I really stepped back and I'm like, dang, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this matters. You know what I'm saying? Like, even though it seemed to me that it was something stupid that he was crying over, so you know what I mean? Like, I had to wait a couple minutes and then go back like, yo, you know what? Like, yo, you're absolutely right. Because if this really means something to you, it doesn't matter that it doesn't mean anything to me.
Right.
If I'm talking to you, I need to come, you know, like I need to come at you like, you know, like I'm with you trying to either comfort you, help you solve the problem.
Or trying to understand.
You know what I'm saying? Like make you want to be able to say whatever it is on your heart so that you can get past it. Me telling you to man up and yelling at you because you're crying over a game, like, yo, I mean, and then he was like, you know, he said, yeah, he's like, you know, like I spent, you know, several hours doing it, you know, and then I messed up all this progress and now I got it, you know, I've wasted half a day and now, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so I'm like, I'm able to better understand. But yeah, and I'm like, yo, you know, but when I came back to him, I had to apologize. I was like, yo, I'm sorry, man. Like, yo, I'll never do that again. Right. Because you know what I mean? Like, yo, it doesn't, again, like I said, it doesn't matter that it wasn't important to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because it wasn't important to me doesn't mean that it wasn't important. I just didn't know how important it was.
Right.
And so, you know what I'm saying? Like, so that helped. And then, you know what I'm saying? So now in the way of a relationship, I'm like, yo, you know, like there might be things that they, you know, that they care about. I don't care nothing about.
Right.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, but I learned that I have to be able to make those things important because although your makeup tutorials, like your housewife shows, all this stuff, you care about that.
Right.
I don't care about that, but I care about you.
Right.
And you know what I mean? Like, and as long as that's the case, whatever is important to you, I'm not ever going to try to minimize. It may never be as important to me, but I don't want to minimize that because, you know what I'm saying? Like, because that's like the way that you're able to show somebody that, number one, that you love them and that they can, you know, they can talk to you about things that are important to them. They can come, you know what I mean? Like, and know that you're not gonna make it small. You're not gonna make them regret saying it to you because you know what I'm saying? Like, and so it was a valuable lesson learned. And like I said, to be able to carry that into a relationship is important. And it's not something that I always did. And so I have to, you know what I mean? Like, you know, and so I have to sort of just look at it as a learning experience, like I do with my entire failed relationship.
I mean, again, though, I mean, to call it a fail, I mean, it's harsh just off what you're saying because, you know, not everything is meant to work. You know what I mean? Like, not everything, and but for the reasons you've said. So to really look at it like a fail, that's how I looked at everything. And I honestly just couldn't look at it as a fail. I just looked at it as another opportunity to just improve me. And that was really it. You know what I mean? Whether it be in different discussions or anything, or maybe there's an argument that happened and I could have, you know, flipped it. But, you know.
Hold up.
Yeah.
It's the pizza guy.
He slept on the pizza guy.
Hello?
He's outside.
Okay.
Can you go out there, please?
Yep.
Right now? Thanks. All right.
Yeah, so
All right. Yeah, I can hear him beeping the horn. All right.
It's tough being a parent.
So, yeah, I'm sorry, man. Like,
Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't know, what was I saying? Saying something of importance. Again, nothing's a fail to me.
Yeah.
Nothing's a fail.
I mean,
just strictly because I only say that because I mean, of course, anybody can look at it however they want, but I know that part of me and my growth was to stop looking at everything as if it was a fail, and that's strictly because that made me come down harder on myself. I looked at it as just another opportunity to kind of shape me, right? And that's with anything I do. Because for so long I looked at it as a fail. Okay, like, you know, had kids early, I looked at it as a fail, just strictly because that just wasn't your regular blueprint, as opposed to looking at it as something that shaped me into being a more responsible human being. And because I was shaped into being such a responsible human being, it kind of kept me from doing things that I probably would have done in my 20s, had I not had that opportunity. You know what I mean? Different arguments that you could look at as like breakdowns or fails. I kind of just looked at it as like, listen, man, maybe I need to reshape how I approach things or reshape how I look at things. I'm a tone person. Like, if a tone sounds off to me, it triggers aggression. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of that may go back to my youth, or maybe, you know, teenagers, to where I was hyper aggressive. So it didn't take much. And again, that was one of those learning things, because even with a kid, like my daughter's a teenager, and sometimes,
God bless him.
Sometimes I think she doesn't quite understand where I can take it. And I also don't sometimes. So sometimes she may respond in a way that I don't particularly care for.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that I come back and my response sometimes isn't the most productive. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, of course, you look at it like, well, you're the parent, you should be able to, but no. And I only say that because I can still correct you, but I don't necessarily have to berate you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Me yelling because you said something some way, because I took offense to the tone, is not productive, in a sense that you know, I don't want you to feel as though we're equals, because an equal argues, right? Yeah. Like that I don't want you to feel like that's what we're doing. I don't want to give you that impression or that energy, because this is not an argument, because ultimately I win. So
that's I ain't one of your little friends or energy.
Right. For real. Like for lack of a better term, like that's it right there. I am not one of your little, but you know, but then I had to understand, like, sometimes kids get frustrated because they can't always get what they need to get out. And I understand that, but for me to yell doesn't help you channel that a better way. And I learned that and I kind of use that even now. Like, there's times where, you know, if there's a disagreement with me and my wife, like, she's ethnic. Sometimes they loud. I can't always assume that you're yelling at me, or that this is an actual argument. It could just be that you are loud and you are talking. You know what I mean? That's how I had to start thinking about it. So I stopped looking at it like I felt that moment. As in, I just, okay, let me take this moment, flip it, figure out what I got to do to kind of fix myself.
Bro. Yeah. That's real, to be able to know, you know what I'm saying? Like, to be able to step back in those moments, because, you know, I think that something, we might have lost one of the cameras, but I think one of the things that is hard to do is realizing in the middle of something brewing or you know what I'm saying, like,
Right.
or I mean, or something, or having a back and forth rather,
Right.
is that I gotta come down.
Yeah.
Because if I don't come down, it's gonna be World War III.
I know where this is going.
You know what I'm saying? And but I mean, I found myself in that space most of the time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, especially like once we got outside of our 20s, because when you have like ridiculous arguments in your 20s, you know what I mean? But I started realizing, I'm like, yo, all right, I gotta. So now I'm just, even if I just gotta, you know what I mean? Like, and then maybe get my point across. I think the downside to that for me was that I didn't always do it correctly. And so instead of just bringing it down and then saying whatever was on my heart, I didn't say nothing.
Right.
Because you know what I'm saying? Like, because I'm like, you know what?
I mean, I would do that.
I think it's a win that I didn't tear a hole in your face. Like
but part of that sucks too is when you gotta come down. I know me personally, I used to feel like I was taking an L.
Yeah. Oh,
like
listen.
Like yeah.
L upon L upon glorious L.
Like, you know what? You got yours off, and I just been sitting here brewing because I feel as though I took this L, and word looking at it like that is 27. 26, 27-year-old me, 32-year-old me is like, you know what, man. This was a win for both of us. Because like you said, I know where this was going. Like, it's okay that you didn't pick where you wanted to eat. It's fine. It's fine. We'll eat at home now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I get that 100%, man.
Like, I mean, bro, I just took that attitude, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I got to take an L. I got to take one for the team. But I think that you both have to learn to be, and I think that's probably like a good reason for like couples counseling and all that stuff that we're not getting ready to get into, but you know what I'm saying, like but like Jay said, nobody wins when the family feuds. But as for your question, so we can wrap it up. I think that you're right. I think that there's no they do go hand in hand. When you're talking about marriage and children,
right?
I think it's a different dynamic when you're outside of that. But yeah, I don't know. I can't say. I like I said, I want to say like that relationships are harder, but obviously I said that with the caveat that I have a jaded view. Because an admittedly jaded view.
It's a skewed perception right now.
So, but what do you guys? What do y'all think? I don't know. Ryan and I were able to say what we thought.
I personally would love to know what mothers think. Is it hard to be a mom? Is it hard to be a wife? We heard the guys' take. I'd love to hear a woman's take. So comment.
Like, share, subscribe, say things. We'll be back here again next time. My phone just fell. My kids are asking for food, so.
Tough being a parent.
So.